Hey everyone, Runsplitting here with another battle report. So again, I'm going to a new game store. Had a pickup game, my Beastmen versus an Ogre army. That in the middle of this table, by the way, we're using that as a hill, and despite the fact that it's like a crumpled building. Um, yeah, so basically my opponent had a 3,000 point list that he put together for Ard Boys, and he's trying to test it out. And so when I told him I had a 2,500 point list, he just yanked 500 points out of it and called it good. And um, I didn't want him to have to tweak it to make it legal for 2,500. Basically, he has 4 Mournfang units, and I think you can only have 3 units of special in a 2,500 point game. But I didn't care, and he wanted to get practice using the list, so that's what we went with. So his battle line looks something like that, a very, very low model count build. He has no magic whatsoever. He's using a lot of proxies for Mournfang because, quite frankly, it's just going to take him a while to buy all the real Mournfang. He bought 2, and you know how much that costs. And everything else, he's just kind of mocked up some proxies. So on the left, he's got 2 units of Mournfang full command. He's got a unit of Iron Guts with his BSB and his general. I have no idea what their builds are. I'm sure they were pretty nasty. There's a Thunder Tusk. On the other side of the Thunder Tusk, a unit of Bulls, and then 2 more units of Mournfang. I think this is a very, very interesting build. Mournfang hit obnoxiously hard. So let's see. On my far right, I've got a big unit of Gore. Then I've got another big unit of Gore with my 3 characters. They are built as you can see. Behind them are some Harpies. There's a Razor Gore chariot to the left of them. Bestigores, Harpies behind them, and then a Razor Gore on the far left, and then a Tusk Gore chariot or 2 on my very far left. So I get turn 1, I move up as you can see. The way I thought I would approach this list is what I'd like to do is piecemeal it. If I can fight his units just 2, a couple at a time, I can overwhelm them. If he were able to bring all his force and hit me at the same time, he would just crush me. I mean, this is a hard-hitting army. So that's why I did a heavy on the right flank. He pretty much spread evenly throughout the whole board. And so my goal is to march up as fast as I can on the right-hand side and use my redirectors on the left-hand side to hold up at least a couple units. So it looks like that. So during the magic phase, I actually kind of like the Steed of Shadows spell. I mean, it's fun anyway. So everybody lets it through. So I flew my Great Brave Shaman out of the unit right at his flank. And then I threw 6 dice at the pendulum, and my thinking was I'm just going to send it right down his lines. I got an irresistible force, and the miscast result was everybody in base contact with me took a hit, so nothing really happened. And he passed every single initiative test. So I thought that was kind of a bummer. We go to his turn 1. Now he charged my unit of Bestigor with the Bulls and 2 units of Mournfang. And thank goodness he failed with the Bulls. He was pretty far away, so it's not surprising that he failed with it. I think with his Mournfang, one of them needed a 9 and one needed a 10. And so again, it wasn't, he didn't get lucky to make it. I think he just, maybe slightly better than odds. If I've got to find the Mournfang, I really want my Bestigors to be the ones doing it. I would rather have hit him 1 unit at a time. 2 units is just going to kill a lot of my guys. But anyway, that's how it worked out. But for the most part, I think it's going to be rough on the Bestigors, but I think I'm going to be steadfast. I'm going to be able to countercharge in my turn, and I'm going to be able to break both of those units of Mournfang before the rest of his lines have caught up. And that's what I'm hoping will happen anyway. So it looks like that. Let's see, during the shooting phase, it's Thunder Tusk, or I assume that's what it is. Whatever, it's got like a stone thrower on top of it and whatever. Anyway, it shot and killed my Razor Gore, and because of that, my Harpies and one of my Tusk Gore chariots failed their panic test and fled, which isn't really the end of the world. And look at that. If this game were cinematized, dramatized, whatever, you would have seen Bestigor flying up in the air left and right as these Mournfang plowed into him. That unit started at 40, and they are down to 11. So those Mournfang hit tough. Now my Bestigor, of course, they also are pretty tough. I mean, I killed three of the six. He won combat by a bunch. I was steadfast. Um, yeah. So we reformed. Obviously, didn't need to be 10 wide anymore. So I wanted as few ranks as possible, and it ended up being like that. So we go to Beastman turn 2. I rally everybody who had fled, so I thought that was nice. Got the flank charge of my general's unit into his Mournfang, and my Razorgore chariot into the Mournfang, and that caused a really, really weird problem. I'm hoping there's a close-up here so I can show it. Basically, look where my battle standard bearer is hitting the side of my Razorgore chariot, which is touching his Mournfang. When I did impact hits, the Razorgore killed that model, and that was his standard bearer, and the one next to it is the champion. So it literally was that model that I killed. And so it basically took all of my gore out of combat. And I don't know how, I mean, my first reaction was, well, if we killed it, that we would just move forward to maintain contact with the unit, but we couldn't because my Razorgore was blocking me. And if we pulled his champion to keep the gore in combat, it would have taken the champion out of combat with the Bestigor, which seemed weird because that's where he's been at. So I am really open to clarification on how we should play that. But it was really weird. I killed the one, and then my general and BSB and all those gore, none of them could attack. Anyway, you can see I move a Great Ray Shaman up. He's going to try that pendulum again. And at the end of combat, it looks like this. We're able to kill the rest of one of the units, and the other Mournfang stuck around, hanging on. I think he does it wounds remaining, so he has 2 wounds left. Now, if you notice the card behind my gore unit, I got Occam's Mind Razor during the magic phase. I didn't know at that point that they were going to not be able to help with the Mournfang combat, but the reason I put it on there was because on his turn, really no matter what happened, he was going to be able to countercharge me. So if he countercharges me with Occam's, I invite it. I think that's wonderful, and he may choose not to charge me because of Occam's, and that would be just fine as well. So we go to Ogre's turn 2. So his regular bulls charge my general's unit who has Occam's up, and again, I welcome it. That's fantastic. His general's unit charges my Bestigor, which is fine, but they could only clip him. They couldn't fit on the other side of him, and so I'm actually kind of okay with how that worked out as well. Otherwise, he has 2 units of Mournfang on the far left. You can only see one of them, and I think on a lot of these turns, he's trying to charge my chariots and my stuff that's on my left-hand side. Because if he makes that charge, he moves across half the board just like that. But if he has a chance of making it, I just flee. So he has a bunch of failed charges. So his Mournfang are just effectively, out of the game for now. Yeah, I'm sure at least one, if not both of those, had a failed charge. I really think that the better thing to do would just be to march them up and guarantee that you can get into the fight where you need to be. Also, I'm not sure they need to come around to where I deployed because all the units that matter are to the right. My Bestigor was my left flank. My general's unit is above them, and my other unit of Gores is even farther away. So I'm not sure why he's bringing the Mournfang down here towards my table edge. Yeah, there's another view of things. And after combat, again, weird things were happening. First of all, the Occam's unit just chewed through his bulls. I mean, it wasn't even close. And that was his turn. And so that's awesome because on my turn, I'm going to be able to charge into that Thunder Tusk. And I think I'll be able to kill it. Here at the bottom, you remember we were just kind of clipped, right? So I killed the remaining. He killed enough of my guys that it basically pulled everybody out of combat. It separated us. Now, my understanding is on the rules, whenever you're down to your last rank, you pull equally from both sides, and so that's what I was doing. But anyway, by the time it worked out, both of us were like 2 inches apart from each other. So we may have played that wrong. It could be I should have just scooted my guys down to keep in contact. Either way, there was no break test for either one of us at the end, and so I reformed facing away, and he reformed as you can see. I mean, it probably wouldn't have mattered really. I would have been on Snake Eyes, I'm sure, and I would have broken and then would have spent the rest of the game probably not even running off the board. So I'm not sure if it mattered, but it was another confusing situation. So more shots. We go to Beastman turn 3. I get the charge into his Thunder Tusk. I bring my general to look down his flank and use the Harpies so his general's unit can't charge my other unit of Gore. His general's unit's going to be tough, so if I get in a fight with him, I'd really rather it be in his flank or, with a couple of my units ganging up on him. So it looks like that. Yeah, there's my general looking to get a pendulum down him. And I got the spell off again, and again, it did nothing. I think I may have killed a guy. I may have done a couple wounds, whatever. After combat, Thunder Tusk is dead. I reform. On his turn, you can see he just reforms and faces my general's unit. And as Mournfang, he finally just turned around to face my general's unit. So I really think the Mournfang, again, spent too much time messing around with my chariot down there. And, yeah. So in his turn, basically, I didn't charge my general's unit into the front of his general's unit because I didn't see the point. I had a pretty easy charge into the flank with my Gore, and I might just be able to beat him through combat res, which I think would be great. So I take my Razor Gore chariot and my Gore unit into the flank of his general's unit, hoping to beat him primarily through combat res. My generals either sat there or they failed to charge against his Mournfang. And my guess is they failed to charge against the Mournfang. So closer up it looks like that. And yeah, combat res did it. Able to beat and run down his general. So, I mean, that's really the game. But he really wanted to just play it out. I think, again, he's preparing for a tournament, so he wants to know how these Mournfang units how they can handle things. So he took a turn 4, charged both his Mournfang to my general's unit. One of them failed the charge, so it looks like this. And I'm doesn't bother me a bit. He's going to kill a bunch of Gore. My general and battle standard bearer, for the most part, should normally be able to do a lot more wounds than they even did here. But regardless, I'm sure I'm going to win that eventually. Beastman turn 5. Just moving up, as you can see. Yeah, these guys, the 2 remaining best Gore out of 40 are just hanging out on the hill watching the rest of the battle. Yeah, again, it just looks like that. Hey, my general, again, I just flew him over here, and then I did the pendulum again, and it killed one of the Mournfang. It's fun to do, but the pendulum just doesn't seem to do anything. Yeah, this time we knocked off the rest of the Mournfang. And the board looks like that. So he charges my Harpies. I stand because I don't want him to charge anything else. He beats him, overruns. My Great Brave Shaman fails his panic test, runs away. My chariots are all good. And we're set up for a final culminating series of charges. It looks something like that. I brought my Bestigore in just so they could be in the picture. And there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to just slaughter these guys. There's my Brave Shaman running away. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't even close at that point. So, I don't know. I think I think the list he brought is very, very tough. I think that is a tough list potentially, but I don't think any unit is tough enough to go fight piecemeal. When his 2 Mournfang units charge me at first with the rest of his battle line so far away, they're not going to hold up. It allows me to gang up on him. I think if he were just a little bit more patient, brought his troops closer together so they could support each other, I think that would have been a tough match. Those Mournfang tear stuff up. They can whittle down a horde unit. So anyway, it was fun going against something different like that. Hope you enjoyed it.